Remember what Brother Austin said this morning? We will be having some alternating sessions in terms of his coming on alternately. That is when he's not presenting in the morning. He will be presenting a portion of the afternoon. So a prophecy, and that portion will try to synchronize. As we suggested to me. The afternoon when he is not presenting the morning, he wanted a portion of time the evening for open for field questions and so on. But you are to write your questions and deposit them in the offering box here provided, as well as the boxes in the doors. Any questions that you have, that afternoon portion will be fielding questions that you may have with reference to what he might have said, or any other questions related to marriage. All right? All right. Yeah. A special box. All right. Okay. You'll put it here. All right. Now, there are some churches that teach that the United States of America is not taught in the Bible or in Bible prophecy. Of course, these individuals are ignorant concerning the wealth of information that the Bible has to say concerning such a great power and its role in the final crisis. The United States of America is not mentioned by name, but like the papacy, all the characteristics of this power is given that leads us not to guess at who it represents. Just as we have the characteristics of the papacy mentioned in Daniel 7, and the location of it, the timing of its rise, the career, how long it would last, and pushing up tree upon its rise, and being a blasphemous power, and identifies the territory over which it rules, it is clear to us that we can also do the same thing for the United States of America in Bible prophecy. All that would be left will be people to draw the conclusion which power is there represented clearly. Now, right at the outset, let me mention that the parallels in the Bible, prophetic parallels, are not just in the book of Daniel, but they are also in the book of Revelation. The parallels in Daniel are, let me hear you, Daniel 2. What are the parallel prophecies in the parallel chapter of dealing with prophecy in Daniel? Daniel 2, 7, 8, 11. Those, and each one mentions an aspect that gives us the clue that the other one is parallel to it. They run along the same line. They do not touch like parallel lines, but they run along the same lines and end up at the same conclusion. Some may start at the second power, but ends up at the same conclusion. For example, Daniel 2 and Daniel 7 start the same place, that is at Babylon. And they end at the same place, the 10 toes. Rome divided, and the stone smiting the image on the feet, and setting up of a kingdom which shall not be taken away. 7 starts with the same thing and ends up with the work of judgment and the removal of the little horn. 8 starts with Medo-Persia, because Babylon had already gone off the scene by then, and ends up with the king of Pharaoh's countenance and the work that horn, a little horn, because the little horn covers both pagan and papal Rome. And it ends up with that power being destroyed and coming to an end as well. Standing up against the prince of princes is what is mentioned parallel to that in Daniel 11. So Daniel 11 starts with Medo-Persia and ends with the papacy, the king of the north, coming to his end. Verse 44 of Daniel chapter 11, coming to his end. after overflowing and overtaking and causing countries to yield to its dominion, then it will come to its end because of tidings out of the east and out of the north. And I hope we know why we say east and why we say north. Revelation now has its parallels as well. Revelation starts its parallels from, anybody know? Revelation starts its parallels from chapter 12. Chapter 12, the prophetic war line, it starts from chapter 12. Chapter 12 is parallel to chapter 13. 12 starts with the church of God at the time of the birth of Christ and ends with the dragon making war on the woman's seed. 13 starts from the beast rising up the sea and the one head that was wounded, which is the papal head, and ends with United States of America making an image to the first beast and causing everybody to receive a mark in his forehead or in his right hand. Those two, 12 and 13, are also parallel to 16. 16 starts, that's a parallel that is run parallels to, but the parallel at 16 starts with the outpouring of the 7 last plagues, deals with the drying up the river Euphrates, and the way being prepared for the kings of the east, and then the final collapse of Babylon in 3 parts. 17 again has a parallel to 12, 13, and 16. Because 13 begins with Babylon going into the wilderness and the union of church and state. And then the 10 horns, that's Babylon again, Babylon. And then the 10 horns being united with Babylon in the final formation of the mark of the beast, which seeks to destroy the Lamb and they that are with him. They will make war with the Lamb and they that are with him. And then we are told that ultimately the 10 horns that were deceived will end up devouring the what? The woman. Making her naked and destroying her. All those are parallel. Of course, there's a connection in 18 as well. 18 starts from the loud cry. Revelation 18 starts from the loud cry and ends up with Babylon being destroyed as well. Judgments upon Babylon and those who are connected with her, the merchants of the earth, and so on. Right down. So all of these are parallel. Of course, there's a parallel with 19 too, but that comes later on down. Now, of course, 19 starts with the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Some of the same thing mentioned in 17 as well as 13 and 16. Chapter 16. So there are a lot of parallels in the book of Revelation apart from Daniel itself. But we study Revelation in conjunction with Daniel because Revelation is the revelation of that book of Daniel that was closed before. And it was closed till the time of the end. When was the time of the end? When did the time of the end begin? What year? 1790. I hope you can prove that too. Because that's something that we should be able to prove. When exactly, according to the Bible, that the time of the end begin. You have to be able to prove that it begins in the year 1798. And that's a clear line as well. Now, if there's one thing we must do when it comes to Bible prophecy is not guess at anything. And there's a lot of room for speculation as far as people are concerned. But we have to follow a very clear prophetic line. We have already established here, in looking at these 7 heads, that the point of view from which John was writing was from 1798 forward, when the beast went into the wilderness, out of the limelight, after God's church had come out of the obscurity or the wilderness, the beast went into the wilderness. That is after 1798. And if you know that timing, then it is easier to reckon the past tense of the beast. The beast was would have to mean before 1798. The beast is present day, and shall ascend, future tense. Or the beast was, is not, and yet is. And there's a beast that was and is. One is the 7 heads. 5 are fallen. They're the same thing. You're not to be confused. They're the same thing. There are 7 kings. One is, 5 are fallen. One is, and the other is not yet come. So John's point of view, 1798, 5 are fallen. From before 1798, 5 are fallen. One is presently existent, and we saw that 6 head really refers to atheistic communism as was manifested in France in 1793 right through to 1798. It was the Roman power that had given a wrong concept of God's character that had led to the atheists becoming extremely frustrated and wanted to have nothing with the Bible, with the church, with the people, or any concept of God's character that they held. And that is where they rebelled, they revolted against the Bible, burnt the Bible in the streets of France,